My child, this message is just for you. Out of millions of voices speaking at the same time, out of endless distractions fighting for your attention, out of countless moments that could have passed unnoticed, I chose this moment to reach you. I guided your eyes here. I calmed your heart just enough for you to pause. You are here because I wanted you here. Not because you searched perfectly, not because you were lucky, but because I called you quietly. And somehow, you responded without even realizing it. You did not arrive here by accident. Nothing about this moment is random. Nothing about this is rushed or misplaced. Heaven itself arranged this meeting with intention. Long before you saw these words, I saw you. Long before you felt the pull to stop, I already knew this would be the moment you were ready to listen. Every delay, every turn, every unexpected pause that brought you here was guided. You were never wandering. You were being led. Right now, out of millions of people living their lives, your eyes are on this message, and your heart feels something shifting. That feeling is not just curiosity. It's not coincidence. It's recognition. Something deep inside you knows this moment matters, even if your mind can't explain it yet. That knowing comes from me. It's your spirit, recognizing my voice, my child. I know every question you've whispered when no one else could hear. I know the prayers you spoke with words, the ones you cried through tears, and even the ones you held in silence because you were too tired to speak. I know the questions you stopped asking because hoping again started to hurt. I know the confusion you carried quietly and the doubts you never shared. This message will answer what you've been asking, not all at once, but honestly and deeply. Do not doubt why you are here. There will be a voice that tries to tell you, this is just another video, just another message, just another passing moment. Don't listen to that voice. Don't ignore what you're feeling right now. You were seen, you were chosen, and you were brought here on purpose. I do not waste moments, and I do not speak without intention. If you are here, there is something I want you to understand. So stay with me. Slow your thoughts. Let go of the need to rush ahead or analyze everything instantly. What you're about to hear was not meant for everyone. It was meant for you. That's why it feels personal. That's why it feels precise. That's why it reaches places you've never spoken about. Maybe you've felt overlooked before, ignored, forgotten in rooms full of people. Maybe you've wondered why others seem to get clarity so easily, while you've been waiting, wrestling with silence. Listen carefully now. You were never invisible to me. I have always known where you are. I have always known what you're carrying. Being chosen doesn't always look like being first. Sometimes it looks like being prepared, quietly. I chose this moment because now you are ready. Ready to hear truth without it breaking you. Ready to receive clarity without it overwhelming you. Ready to understand answers that once would have confused you. Growth doesn't always announce itself, and readiness often arrives silently. You have grown, even when you felt stuck. Out of millions, you are here, not because you're better than anyone else, but because your journey prepared you for this moment. Your waiting, your disappointment, your questions, your endurance, none of it was wasted. It positioned you to recognize this moment instead of scrolling past it. Many people would have ignored this, but you didn't. You stayed. I know. Sometimes you wonder if you missed something important in life, if you fell behind or chose the wrong path. I know you replay moments in your mind, thinking about what could have been different. But this moment is not here to accuse you. It's here to reassure you. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where you need to be to hear what comes next. If you feel it in your heart, type, "I believe you, Lord, even when I cannot see." Because walking forward sometimes means walking by faith alone. This message is for you because I am speaking into your season, your questions, your heart. Others may hear these words, but the meaning that settles inside you is personal. I speak broadly, but I reach you specifically. I know how to reach you without you needing to explain anything. So don't rush past this, thinking you already know what I will say. Don't assume you've heard this before. Sometimes familiar words carry brand new truth when your heart is finally ready. So stay open, let your guard down. You don't need to protect yourself here. You are safe to listen. You were brought here because I want to restore something inside you. Not just comfort you for a moment, but realign you. Not just answer one question, but quiet many. Not just encourage you, but steady you. This is not just a random pause in your day. This is a turning point. I know part of you wonders why this had to happen like this. Through a screen, through words, in a quiet moment, instead of something dramatic. But understand this, I often speak the clearest when everything around you becomes quiet enough to hear me. I meet you where you are, not where you think I should be. Out of millions, you're here because your heart still listens, even when it's tired. Because you still hope, even when you try not to. Because you still ask, even when answers feel slow. Those things matter. That's why you recognize this moment, instead of ignoring it. You may not fully understand yet why this feels so important. And that's okay. You don't need to understand everything right now. Understanding will come. But for now, trust what you feel. Trust the pull that made you stop. Trust the peace, mixed with seriousness, that's settling inside you. That is my presence, meeting your attention. This message is not here to rush you or pressure you. It's here to meet you, to remind you that you are known, to show you that your questions were heard, to assure you that there is purpose, even in the waiting. You didn't choose, so stay with me. Let the noise fade away. Let comparison fall off. Let doubt loosen its grip. You are not just one voice among millions. To me, you are my child, and I speak to you as someone who matters deeply. You are here because I chose this moment for you. You are listening because your spirit recognizes my voice. And what you are about to hear will answer what you've been asking. Maybe not in the way you expected, but in the way you truly need. So don't ignore this. Don't explain it away. Receive it with trust and humility. Out of millions, you are here. And that is not by chance. My child, you were chosen, not randomly found. I want you to hear this slowly. You were chosen, not by accident, not by curiosity, not by chance. You didn't just stumble into this moment. You were guided here with intention. I brought you here because I know you, I see you, and I care about you more than you fully understand right now. Out of millions of people living their lives at this very moment, Your path crossed this message because it was meant to. That doesn't mean others are lost. It means this moment was prepared specifically for you. I know how easy it is for you to feel like you're just one among many, easily overlooked, easily replaced, easily forgotten. But that belief never came from me. It came from moments where you felt invisible, unheard, delayed. But with me, you have never been invisible, not for a second. I chose you intentionally, not because you were perfect, not because you were strong all the time, not because you never doubted. I chose you because your heart is honest, because even when you're tired, you still listen, because even when you feel unsure, you still search, because even when clarity feels far away, you still keep moving forward. That matters more than you realize. Maybe you've noticed before how certain moments just seem to find you, how some messages hit you deeply while others just pass by, how sometimes you feel a pull to stop even when your mind says keep scrolling. That pull was never random. It was alignment. It was me calling you gently, waiting for the moment you would finally pause long enough to hear. Right now, I want to remove one thing from your heart. The idea that this is just coincidence. Coincidence tells you this moment doesn't matter. Coincidence tells you your presence here is replaceable. Coincidence tells you nothing changes whether you listen or not. But that is not true. This moment matters because you matter. Your attention matters. Your response matters. You were chosen, not because you are better than anyone else, but because your journey prepared you to be ready now. There were things you needed to learn. There were layers you needed to let go of. There were questions you needed to struggle with before the answers could truly settle in your heart. If this message had reached you earlier, you might have heard it, but not received it. If it had come later, you might have missed the door it was meant to open. This timing is precise. I have been watching you longer than you realize. I've seen how deeply you try to understand life instead of just staying on the surface. I've seen how you reflect, how you replay moments, how you search for meaning, even in disappointment. I've seen how you carry questions inside you without always knowing who to ask. You are not overlooked in those moments. You are known. When I say you were chosen, I am not speaking in vague words. I am speaking to you personally. I know your story. I know the parts of you that you question. I know where you feel behind. I know where you feel unsure if you'll ever catch up. I even know that quiet fear inside you that whispers, maybe I missed my moment. But listen carefully. That fear is not truth. I am. You were not randomly found, because I don't work randomly. I move with purpose. I move with care. Even when life feels messy, even when your path feels unclear, I am not guessing. I am guiding. There were times you felt lost, but you were never out of my sight. There were times you felt delayed, but delay was not denial. It was preparation. You may struggle to believe that you were chosen intentionally because you compare yourself to others. You look at their progress, their timelines, their visible success, and you wonder if you're enough. But I don't measure you the way the world does. I don't look at what is seen. I look at the heart. I look at growth that no one posts online. I look at resilience. I look at humility. I look at your willingness to keep going, even when it's hard. And I see all of that in you. That's why this message reached you, because your heart was open enough to recognize it. Many people hear words, but never feel their meaning. Many people see moments, but never sense their weight. But you did. You paused. And that says something about you. It tells me you are still listening, even when you feel unsure. I want you to really feel this moment. I'm not speaking to a crowd right now. I'm speaking to you. Personally, I know your name. I know your thoughts. I know the things you've never said out loud. I know the hopes you keep hidden and the fears you don't share. You don't need to explain anything to me. I already understand. You were chosen, not to be burdened, but to be guided, not to feel pressure, but to feel peace, not to be isolated, but to be reminded you are not alone in this journey. I want to settle something in your heart right now. You don't need to earn this moment. You don't need to prove anything to deserve being here. You are here because I invited you. That's it. Let that truth silence the voice that tells you you're not enough or not ready. Out of millions, you are here because your life is not random. Your questions are not pointless. Your struggles are not signs of failure. They are part of a story that is still unfolding. You are not behind in that story. You are inside it. I know sometimes you feel small in a world that moves so fast. I know you wonder if your life really matters beyond your immediate circle. So hear me clearly. Your life matters to me deeply. Your attention matters. Your response matters. That's why I speak to you with clarity and care. Don't let doubt talk you out of this truth. Doubt will try to tell you. This message could be for anyone, but the way it is reaching you, the way it is touching your specific thoughts, your specific feelings, your specific moments, that is not general. That is personal. That is intentional. So if your heart feels it, say it within you. I surrender. I trust you. Because surrender is not weakness, it's alignment. I chose you because I am invested in where you are going, not just where you have been. I am invested in who you are becoming, not just what you have survived. This moment is part of that. It's a reminder that you are not wandering aimlessly. You are being led. So let this truth settle you. You don't need to chase attention. You already have mine. You don't need to compete to prove your worth. You are already valued. You don't need to fear being overlooked. You are seen. You were chosen, not randomly found. And this moment is proof that your life is held, guided, and known. Stay with me, because I'm not finished speaking yet. What comes next builds on this truth. You belong here, and you were meant to hear this right now. My child, I have been watching you and calling you long before you ever recognized my voice. I was there before you understood your feelings, before you had words for your questions, before you even knew what you were searching for. You have never walked alone, not even once. Even when you thought you were doing everything on your own, even when you believed you were figuring life out by yourself, I was there, steady, close, present. I saw you in your early days, when hope felt simple, when faith felt easy. And I saw you as life became more complicated, as your questions grew deeper, as your heart became quieter. I noticed when your prayers changed, when they became shorter, quieter, and sometimes turned into silence. You wondered if I noticed that. did. Your silence never hid you from me. It brought me closer to you. I was there in your restless nights, when you couldn't fully rest, in your tired mornings, when you woke up already heavy. You told yourself, it's just stress, just responsibility, just life. But deeper than that, something inside you was stirring, a quiet calling, a sense that something more was waiting. That was me, not to disturb you, but to prepare you. I saw you when you were wrestling with questions that never seemed to have clear answers. You asked, why did certain doors close when you were finally ready to walk through them? Why did timing never align the way you hoped it would? Why did it feel like you were doing everything right, but still not moving forward? You wondered if you misunderstood me, if you missed something important, if maybe you got it wrong. But listen carefully. Those questions never pushed me away. They mattered to me, even when it felt like your words were echoing back in silence. I was still holding every question with care. There were times you prayed boldly, and times you could barely whisper. Times you spoke with confidence, and times doubt was mixed into every word. I heard all of it. I never separated your prayers into strong or weak. I received them exactly as they were, honest, tired, hopeful, confused. Every single prayer reached me, even the ones you thought were too broken to matter. I saw you in those moments, when you almost moved forward, but then stopped, when you felt a pull to act, to change something, to take a step, and then fear whispered, wait. I saw that battle inside you, and I know that hesitation didn't come from weakness. It came from pain, from disappointment you didn't want to relive again, from wounds you were trying to protect. I never judged you for that. I stayed with you in it. I watched you become more cautious over time, not because you lost faith, but because life taught you to be careful. You learned not every step is safe, not every promise is kept, not every open door leads to peace, and that changed you. It made you thoughtful, it made you aware, but it also made you slow to trust yourself. And I saw that too. I knew the moment when caution slowly turned into hesitation, and hesitation started holding you back from moving when I was calling you forward. There were days you felt far from me, days when my presence felt distant or quiet. You wondered, did I step away? Did you do something wrong? But hear this clearly. Feeling distance is not the same as being distant. I never left you. Not for a moment. I was closer than you realized, walking with you, even in confusion, even in silence, even when you couldn't feel me. I saw you in your quiet disappointments, when things didn't work out, and you didn't even react loudly. You just adjusted, lowered your expectations, and kept going. That quiet strength didn't go unnoticed. I saw how much it took to keep moving, without clarity, without answers, without recognition. I saw you when comparison started creeping in, when you looked at others and felt like they were ahead while you were falling behind. I heard those thoughts, the ones you never said out loud, the ones that asked, am I doing enough? Am I becoming enough? Am I even on the right path? Those thoughts didn't define you. They revealed something deeper. Your desire to grow, to align, to matter. And I saw that desire, even when doubt tried to cover it. I have been calling you through patterns in your life, through moments that felt familiar, through conversations that stayed in your mind longer than expected, through things that touched you deeply, even when you didn't understand why. Those were not coincidences. They were signals, gentle reminders, guiding your attention, not forcing your steps. I saw you adapt when life didn't go as planned. I saw you adjust, survive, keep going, even when it wasn't easy. And yes, survival made you strong. But it also made you settle sometimes when you were meant to move forward. And I understood why. I never turned away from you. There were moments when you stopped asking questions completely, not because you stopped caring, but because caring started to hurt. You told yourself, I'm just being practical. I'm just being realistic. But deep down, you were tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of hoping. Tired of wondering if answers would ever come. And I knew that feeling. I never mistook your tiredness for lack of faith. I have always been calling you in a way that respects your pace. I didn't rush you when you were fragile. I didn't overwhelm you when you were unsure. Sometimes I whispered, sometimes I waited. And now, I am speaking clearly. I saw you when you felt unseen by others, when your efforts went unnoticed, when your care was expected but rarely appreciated. Those moments shaped you, and not always in a kind way. But I saw you fully. Every quiet act, every small decision to stay true, even when no one was watching. It all mattered to me. Nothing was wasted. I was there in your restlessness too. Not as a problem, but as a signal. You felt unsettled, not because you were failing, but because you were outgrowing something. That discomfort was trying to move you toward alignment. But many times, you tried to silence it. You tried to ignore it, push it down, explain it away. And still, I waited patiently. I know the prayers you stopped praying because they felt unanswered. I know the dreams you quietly put on hold, telling yourself, maybe later, maybe someday. But those dreams never disappeared from my sight, just because you hid them from your own heart. You never had to explain any of this to me. I already knew. I have been with you through every stage, every shift, every season. My presence never depended on your certainty. My calling never stopped just because you hesitated. I stayed, even when you felt unsure, even when you felt disconnected, even when you felt lost. I stayed. You might be surprised that I know you this deeply, but connection like this was always my intention with you. I'm not interested in surface-level connection. I know your patterns, your fears, your hopes, your strength. I know when you say, I'm fine. But inside, you're overwhelmed. Nothing about you is hidden from me. And I have been calling you, not because of who you were, but because of who you are becoming. I have been watching, not just where you started, but where you are going. Every nudge you felt, every moment you paused, every time something inside you said, there's more. That was me, not forcing you, but guiding you. Now I want you to release something. The idea that you missed me, the thought that you failed to hear me. Because if you truly missed me, you wouldn't be here right now. You heard enough to arrive at this moment, and that is proof. I was never distant, I was patient. So stay with me and let this truth settle inside you. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to explain anything. You are seen. You are known. And I am still calling you, not from far away, but from right here, walking beside you as we move forward together. My child, you felt drawn here today because timing finally aligned in a way it never had before. This moment didn't come early, and it didn't come late. It came exactly when your heart became ready. You may feel like you've been ready for a long time, but readiness is deeper than desire. Readiness is built through growth, through pain, through waiting, and through learning how to listen without needing instant answers. Something inside you shifted. Maybe you couldn't explain it, but you felt it. A seriousness, a pull to pause, a sense that this moment matters. That wasn't curiosity. That was alignment. Alignment happens when who you are becoming finally matches what you are being called into. Before this, answers felt unclear, not because I was hiding them, but because your heart wasn't ready to hold them yet. There were times you wanted answers, but you also wanted control, certainty, and comfort, all at the same time. And that tension made it hard for truth to settle. Truth doesn't force itself into a guarded heart. It waits, and I waited with you. Growth was shaping you, even when you couldn't see it. You grew through disappointment, which taught you humility. You grew through unanswered prayers, which taught you endurance. You grew through waiting, which taught you patience without becoming numb. Every experience was shaping your heart, not to harden it, but to deepen it, because depth is what allows truth to stay without fear. Pain also shaped you, not because I wanted you to suffer, but because you learned through it. Pain removed illusions. It showed you what truly matters and what doesn't. It taught you that surface-level answers are never enough, that comfort without truth will always leave you empty. Pain slowed you down so you could listen more carefully, because without that slowing, you would have rushed past this moment without even noticing it. Waiting prepared you in ways instant answers never could. Waiting taught you how to sit with uncertainty without running away, how to trust even when you don't fully understand, how to keep your heart open even when your mind is searching for answers. That kind of waiting is not weakness, it's transformation, and it prepared you for today. You are here now because you are no longer asking only from desperation. You are asking from readiness. And there is a difference. Desperation wants immediate relief, but readiness is willing to receive truth, even if it requires growth, even if it requires responsibility. Your heart has shifted from "fix this for me" to "help me understand." And that shift is why this moment exists now. This moment couldn't have come earlier, because earlier you might have misunderstood it. You might have felt pressure instead of guidance. You might have felt fear instead of peace. You might have seen it as a burden instead of an invitation. I was protecting you by waiting, but it also couldn't come later, because the season you are entering now requires clarity. There are decisions forming, directions opening, changes beginning, even if you can't see them yet. And walking into that without understanding would have taken your peace away. That is why this moment is now. Not random, not delayed, perfectly timed. You are here because your heart is softer than it used to be, even after everything you've been through. Hardness didn't win. Cynicism didn't take over. You didn't completely close yourself off. You stayed open, enough to feel, enough to question, enough to quietly hope. And that openness is what allows truth to enter. There was a time when you thought being ready meant being confident, fearless, certain. But that's not readiness. Readiness is humility. It's willingness. It's being able to say, I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to listen. And that's where you are now. You didn't reach this place through success alone. You reached it through surrender. And that's why this moment found you. Timing like this is not about rushing you or holding you back. It's about meeting you at the exact point where your growth and your purpose finally align. And that's where you are, right now, at that intersection. That's why this moment feels deep, calm, serious, yet peaceful. This is what divine timing feels like. I didn't delay this moment to test you. I waited because I love you. I waited so that truth would feel like light, not pressure. So that clarity would feel like peace, not fear. And now, you're here, ready to receive it. So let go of any regret about timing. You didn't miss your moment. No, you arrived at it, exactly when you were meant to. And what comes next will make sense, because your heart has been prepared for it. Stay present, stay open, because this alignment is not accidental. It is the result of everything you've walked through, and it has brought you exactly here. My child, now I am going to answer you. Not with confusion, not with half-truths, but with clarity, shaped by love. Everything you've carried, the confusion, the delays, the struggles, the questions, none of it was ignored. None of it was meaningless. You are not broken for asking. You are not weak for waiting. And you are not behind for struggling. You asked why things didn't move, even when you felt ready. Why doors closed when you finally had the courage to walk through them. Why effort didn't always bring progress. Why sincerity didn't always bring clarity. And here is the truth. It's not because you were doing something wrong. It's because something deeper was being formed inside you. So if this message touched your heart, type, Amen, I trust your timing, and share this with someone who needs to hear it too. Now listen carefully. The answers you have been searching for were never only about changing your situations. They were about changing your understanding. Because when your understanding shifts, everything around you begins to take on a different meaning. You have spent so much time asking, when will things change? When will my situation improve? When will I finally see movement in my life? But beneath those questions, there was a deeper one forming quietly within you. When will I begin to see clearly? Because clarity does something powerful. It doesn't just change your circumstances. It changes how you walk through them. Clarity changes what you tolerate, what you accept, and what you finally choose to walk away from. There were things in your life that you held on to longer than you needed to. Not because you were weak, but because you had not yet seen them clearly. There were patterns that kept repeating in your life, conversations that felt familiar, situations that seemed different, but carried the same outcome. And you wondered, why does this keep happening to me? It wasn't because you were failing. It was because something needed to be revealed. Something needed to be understood before it could be released. I was not just preparing your life. I was preparing you. Because if your environment changed, without your understanding changing, you would eventually return to the same place you were trying to leave behind. That is why growth took time. That is why clarity did not come all at once. That is why certain answers felt delayed, not because they were being withheld, but because they were being developed inside of you. Awareness is not forced. It unfolds, slowly, layer by layer, moment by moment. And I allowed that process to happen, because once you truly see something clearly, you can never go back to not seeing it. That is the power of understanding. It changes you permanently. There were moments when something inside you felt off, but you couldn't explain it. Moments when you felt uncomfortable, even when everything looked fine on the surface. Moments when your spirit was trying to tell you something, but your mind didn't have the words yet. Those moments were not confusion. They were awareness, beginning to rise. You were starting to see beyond what was visible, beyond what was familiar, beyond what you had accepted for so long. And that kind of seeing requires time. It requires stillness. It requires moments like this, where you pause and allow truth to settle without rushing past it. Because when truth settles deeply, it doesn't just inform you, it transforms you. You are no longer the same person who once questioned everything from a place of confusion. You are becoming someone who can recognize truth even when it challenges you, even when it asks you to grow, even when it requires you to let go of what once felt comfortable. And that is where you are now, standing at a place where your understanding is expanding, where your awareness is deepening, where you are beginning to see not just what is happening, but why it is happening. That is why this moment feels different. That is why it feels deeper. That is why it feels like something inside you is shifting. Because it is. You are not just hearing words. You are recognizing truth. And once truth is recognized, it begins to change everything. I know you've been asking, what should I do next? What direction am I supposed to take? How do I know if I'm making the right decision? These questions have stayed with you, not just for a moment, but over time. You've carried them quietly, revisiting them in your thoughts, turning them over again and again, hoping that clarity would suddenly appear. And sometimes, you felt pressure to decide quickly, pressure to move, even when something inside you felt uncertain. But listen carefully. Before direction becomes clear, alignment must come first, because a clear direction without inner alignment can still lead you into confusion. You may know where to go, but if your heart is not settled, if your mind is still divided, if your spirit feels restless, then even the right path will feel heavy. That is why I have been working within you before moving you forward. I am not only guiding your steps, I am aligning your heart so that when you move with peace, not pressure, so that when you choose with clarity, not confusion. There were doors in your life that closed suddenly, doors you were ready to walk through, doors you had prepared for, doors you believed were meant for you. And when they closed, it left you questioning everything. You wondered, why would this happen now? Why would something feel so right and then disappear so quickly? But those closed doors were not rejection. They were protection. Protection from paths That would not have given you peace, protection from outcomes that would have taken more from you than they gave. There were also delays, times when nothing seemed to move, times when everything felt paused, still, uncertain. And in those moments, you felt frustrated, you felt stuck, you felt like life was moving forward for others, while you remained in the same place. But you were never stuck. You were being positioned for the right timing, positioned for the right alignment, positioned for the right understanding. Because moving too early can cost you more than waiting ever will. And even the silence you experienced, the moments when it felt like there were no answers, no direction, no clear sign, that silence was not absence. It was preparation. Preparation happening beneath the surface, where you could not see it yet. Just because something is not visible does not mean it is not happening. There are things being arranged, things being shifted, things being aligned that you do not fully see right now, but you will. In time, it will become clear. You have been asking for direction, but what you truly needed was alignment first. Because once alignment is in place, direction becomes natural. It becomes clear. It becomes steady. It no longer feels forced. And that is where I am leading you. Not into rushed decisions, but into peaceful clarity. Not into pressure, but into confidence. Not into fear, but into trust. So release the pressure you've been carrying to figure everything out all at once. You don't need every answer right now. You don't need to see the full picture. You only need to be aligned for the next step. And when that alignment is complete, you will know. Not through fear, not through doubt, but through peace. A quiet, steady knowing that doesn't need to rush or prove itself. That is how you will recognize it. That is how you will move forward. Now, I want you to release something. The need to have everything figured out. I know how often you've tried to map out your entire path, to understand every step before taking even one. You've told yourself, if I can just see the full picture, then I'll move forward. If I can just be sure, then I'll take the next step. But that kind of certainty is not how growth works. And it's not how faith works either. You don't need the full picture to take the next step. You only need enough light for where you are right now. Think about that. If everything were shown to you at once, every detail, every turn, every challenge ahead, it wouldn't bring you peace. It would overwhelm you. It would create fear instead of trust. That is why the path unfolds, step by step, not to confuse you, but to protect your peace. You've been trying to see the entire road, when all you've ever needed is the next step, because the next step is where your growth happens. The next step is where your trust is built. The next step is where your strength develops. And every time you take a step forward, without having all the answers, you are becoming stronger than you were before. That is how transformation happens. Not in knowing everything, but in trusting enough to keep moving. You don't need to rush ahead. You don't need to force clarity. You don't need to pressure yourself into decisions that don't feel settled. What you need is trust, a steady, quiet trust that even when you cannot see everything, you are still being guided. You're not walking into the unknown alone. You are walking with me. Every step you take, I am aware of it. Every decision you face, I am present in it. Every moment of uncertainty, I am steady within it. You have never been alone in your journey. Not once. Even when it felt like you were. Even when it seemed like you had to figure everything out by yourself. I was there. And I am still here, guiding you, not by showing you everything at once, but by leading you exactly where you need to be, one step at a time. There is a difference between rushing and moving forward. Rushing comes from fear.